Ethan, my
Hi.
almost newly minted young adult who's going to be 18 soon. We're going to talk about powers of attorney for when you turn 18. So have you heard about that at all? Hear me talking about it? or
I've
anything
heard
else?
of you talking about just generally powers of attorney, not necessarily for teenagers, but
Okay, that's good. So we're going to go over it today.
all right.
Like we just went to the bank and both of the bank tellers were talking about how for their own kids, like all the things that they couldn't do, they couldn't pay tuition, they couldn't, help them with medical decisions, they couldn't get medical records. So that's kind of why we're talking about this, and to help other parents talk to their kids about this too. So I thought it'd be a good example. So we'll go over when you're a minor before you turn 18, like mom and dad are making all of your financial decisions, all of your medical decisions. And then when you get older and you're still a minor, you're involved in those decisions.
Yeah.
But we're still the ones that the doctors are talking to for the final, say,
Yeah.
what's going on. And then magically overnight, when you turn 18, ding, mom and dad can't do anything for you anymore, whether you want us to or not. The doctors, because of HIPAA laws, which is medical privacy, they can't talk to you. They can't talk to the parents, and the banks can't work with the parents, and even the schools, because when you're 18, a lot of people are going to colleges, and the colleges can't talk to the parents too without certain documents being formed. So powers of attorney, we're talking about the healthcare power of attorney, which could have a living will as well. We'll go over that, and a property power of attorney, which is like a financial one. And then we're going to talk about the FERPA form, which is the federal form. FERPA. We're going to talk about that, and that goes for the colleges to talk to the parents too.
Okay.
So basically, these are all the law says we can't talk to the parents anymore, and all of these documents let you say no, but really still talk to my parents. Okay, and there's lots of choices in each. Okay.
So basically, it's unnecessarily complicated.
Yeah, but you can see the reason.
Yeah.
You're 18. Not everybody has as great of a relationship as we have, and maybe they don't want their parents to have access anymore. But most probably do. And a lot of parents are still paying for everything, and a lot of the kids are still under the parents' insurance, and so you really kind of need to give them access so that they can keep doing.
They can actually
they can still be your parents and help you along the way. And then as you get older and older and older, then maybe you can change it up to who it is. So first we'll talk about the big one. It's the healthcare power of attorney. I think it's the most important one because of medical emergencies. Got to have that one in place. So say for instance, if you were downstate of college, out of state of college, or really this is needed for anyone who's an adult, not just young adults, but if there's a medical emergency and you can't speak for yourself, who's going to make those decisions for you? Usually when you're young, you're not married yet or any of that, then it's the parents who are going to be making those decisions if you can't talk for yourself. Of course, if you get in a car accident and you're speaking and you're conscious, then you can make your own decisions and talk to the doctors. So that's in the case that you can't speak for yourself. But the healthcare power of attorney deals with more beyond just medical emergencies. So if you want to be an organ donor, yes, they ask you that on your license, but it can also let your healthcare agent, they call you an agent, whoever you decide is going to make decisions for you. It lets them know if you want to donate organs, for transplant, for research. If you don't want to donate at all, kind of your specifics can be put on there. Whereas on the back of the license, it just says organ donor without details, really. Let's see, the other thing is, the big one is a choice for life support.
Yeah.
And I know at the age of 18, you probably haven't really maybe given it thought, maybe you do. Do you have ideas on what you would like?
Not really, no.
So if you have ideas on what you like, it can definitely be included in there. If you have no idea, you can just leave it up to the agent to decide. Kind of go with your family values and let them decide, process the situation, see what's going on, and then make the decision if we have to. And then it also gives access to medical records. So it's a HIPAA release, which means that your parents can get to the medical records. And then there's a couple of ways you can do it. It can start right away as soon as you sign it. Or it can only take effect when you are incapacitated and can't make decisions for yourself. And that would be, the doctor would basically sign a letter saying you're incapacitated, and that makes the power of attorney effective. And then if you regain your capacity later on, it goes away.
So then why would you have it to be all the time if the whole point of the power of attorney is for not the whole point, but a large part of the power of attorney is for a medical emergency. When you're incapacitated, they make the decisions. Why would you sign one for all the time instead of when you are incapacitated?
Well, then the parents, and this is the same document for when you turn 18 as to when you're like really, really old and have dementia and your kid, then you're taking care of me. Right?
Yeah.
So it's the same form for all. So right now it might be, so the parent can always have access to your medical records, because when you're paying medical bills, right, because you're still under your parents' insurance, and the bills come in and you're like, what is this service for? And you want to make sure it's legitimate, they're billing it correctly. Why was it denied insurance? All of those things. They can say, what is this? They can call and find out what the bills are for. So it gives access to that. So they can keep making it. But that's a good question, and you can choose. It's a personal choice either way. And I want to make a big point is that the parents are not the client in this situation with me. I'm an attorney at the law firm. The young adult is the client, and it is their decision. So the parents are guiding. The parent may be paying for these services, but it is the young adult's, the child's decision which way they want to do it. But for your question for later in life, like for grandma when she has dementia, like we're just making it effective now. Or if you're later in life, and you don't have incapacity yet, but it's getting harder for you to handle things. Like the older generation, they can't go online and do a lot of things. You can just make it effective now so the kids can start helping.
Okay.
And then you don't have to go through the hassle of having a doctor sign off. It's just immediate. You have it. And because sometimes doctors don't like to write those letters. And even to get to that point of having them say you're incapacitated could delay you getting access. Like if there's a medical emergency, you have to have someone say you're incapacitated and go through all that. Versus just immediately having access.
Okay.
So good question.
So if you sign the general for somebody like me, then you would be able to have all the access to everything you would need to be able to kind of make sure I'm doing all right. Versus if I was just incapacitated, then you could only access things.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So it depends. Some kids want to keep things more private from parents, and some don't care. Like, And remember, this can be changed anytime. You can come back and update it if it's causing issues or anything. Either way. Let's see. The living will, that can go along with the healthcare power of attorney. That's if someone has strong ideas about life support and they strongly do not want life support. Of course, in an emergency situation, they'll still try to save your life. You're in a car accident, they're still going to resuscitate you and so on and so forth. We're talking about long-term life support, intubation, feeding tubes, things like that.
Like if you're in a coma or something, or something like that.
Yeah. So if you don't know what you want, then we can skip that. That's why I say that one's optional. And then the next one is the property power of attorney, known as the financial power of attorney. So same situation. Say if you're in the hospital, okay, we got your medical taken care of. They're talking to me. Well, now you're in school. Who's going to pay your tuition? Who's going to go in there and maybe talk to the school about things like that? And we're going to get to the FERPA later so that you can talk to the school. Who's going to have access to your checking account to make sure your credit card's getting paid? Have access to your credit card to pay those bills and just keep everything going.
Yeah, that would include like government taxes and everything as well?
Yeah, everything financial, everything.
Okay.
And again, that's for now, but when you get older, you're going to have a lot more complicated finances going on, like if you're doing it for your parents and stuff. So you have access to everything, retirement accounts and everything at that point.
So if you are incapacitated and you don't have something set up, and let's say you aren't able to pay your credit card bill or your tax payments, do they still charge you late fees, etc.?
Oh, yeah, it just keeps going up and up and up. Unless, of course, there's some ways around it. Like if I had access to your account and I could get in and I could pay it and things like that. That's not necessarily the legal way to do it because you're not supposed to share your access information with someone. But a lot of people do. So this just makes it. And then if you ever needed to call and talk to them and say, hey, my kid was in an accident. Can we get a waiver on these fees? Because they will do that often. They can't talk to you because it's not your account. So you really have to have that set up for that either.
Yeah, so it would be just, in general, a very good idea to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. And then, as I mentioned, the FERPA. So say, again, you're incapacitated and someone needs to call the school, talk to your tuition. Maybe you just started the semester just started. And, even I had to be out of school because I was sick more than once. And so that way the parents could, or whoever your agent you chooses, could go and talk to the school because your school records are also private information between you and the school. Now, there's an exception that if you, as a dependent, are listed as a dependent on the parents' income taxes, federal income taxes, that's an exception to the FERPA, and you have access, but you still have to sign the form. It just makes it so much simpler to have that form signed. So you can consent because you're a dependent, and if you're not a dependent, you can still give consent for your parents to access the college records.
Okay.
So again, it just these kind of three things: the healthcare power of attorney, property power of attorney, and the FERPA will work together to make sure everything continues smoothly in case of an emergency.
Okay.
So I was talking about you need your parents, or you can choose to have your parents on here. So it's always good to have more than one person, because what if that one person was in the car accident with you?
Yeah.
You know, or they're traveling and they're out of the country, you can't reach them. So I always like to have three. Two is a good idea. So like if the hospital's calling someone who's on your power of attorney, who's your agent, they'll go through the list. They'll try to get a hold of the first person, they'll go to the second person, they'll go to the third person, whoever they can get a hold of or who's around. And you can have anyone over the age of 18 can be a power of attorney. So it doesn't have to be the parent. You can choose an aunt, a cousin, grandma, grandpa, whoever the guardians are. It can be anyone over the age of 18 that you choose.
Okay. Then is there any limit to the amount of power of attorneys?
Oh, like the list you go down?
Yeah.
No, not really. But for practical purposes, 3 is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you were in a car with your parents, say, and those are your 2,
Yeah.
then...
Or like, families go on trips. If you want to have like that extra person who doesn't get invited on the vacation, but you would still trust to be your power of attorney. Yeah,
exactly.
You can put them on there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we just need we don't need social securities or anything like that. None of that goes on. Just their name, address, and phone number for each person that you're picking.
All right.
And that's all we need.
There you go.
Yeah, and again, you're the client, so it's your choice. You can talk to the lawyer. In this case, it's mom, and decide which way you want to have these all set up. And if you're not sure, like the long-term life support or anything, you just leave it up to the parents to decide. You don't have to make those choices now.
Yeah.
So yeah, this isn't a will and a trust. If you get to the point where you are making money and having assets, then we can do that. We could do that
Not
even
yet,
now.
Marie.
We could do it now. We can do a will. If you have under $100,000 in assets, you can do just a will without a trust, and maybe we'll do that when you turn 18, just to have it done.
Yeah.
And then, if you get married or you have kids later on, then it can just be updated. So it's a good idea to have. And now, thankfully, everything can be done virtually. So it's a good idea to get it done while they're in town and before they head off to college, because then it's just going to be busy. But if you're watching this video and they're already at college and you're like, oh, shoot, I didn't do that, we can still just have them sign and do everything online. We can do the virtual meeting via Zoom. And the actual signing is done online now. As of January of 2024, Illinois has allowed virtual notarizations, and we can do that. So that's really cool.
There you go.
Are you excited for college?
I am very much so.
And when you hit college, you're going to have a lot to do. And so getting this off your plate before you head off, I think is a good idea. And even for people who aren't going to college, remember, this is anyone over the age of 18 needs to have a power of attorney, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any other questions?
Not particularly.
All right. Thank you.